We are going to be reacting to I got to try WoW's Player Housing by Preach. Now, a lot of people have been telling me to watch this and like see what retail's housing looks like. I'm a classic content creator. My audience is a classic, but everyone seems to be really excited for retail WoW's housing because apparently, based on what everybody's said, it is the best housing in MMO's history, at least so far, from what it looks like. So we're just going to see what Preach has to say about that.
The message was clear at my event with Blizzard this weekend. Housing is here to stay. They have been working on this for a really long time, and it is way, way better than you think it's going to be. Let's get into this. I'm going to quick fire a ton of stuff at you because I got to see a hell of a lot, but I want to preface this very quickly, so indulge me for 1 minute. This thing that I went to with Blizzard is not the usual thing we get to do. This was not a marketing thing. We weren't allowed to record. We did do some interviews, but a lot of it can't be used because the devs were very open about where the future and stuff is going, and we can't share that information, so we will have our interview on our other channel as much as we could possibly.
I wish we had this for Classic, by the way. I wish the Classic devs could just sit there and talk about the future and share shit. Like, the Classic devs are really excited about the future. But seeing how the retail like content creators get to fly out and talk about all this stuff and talk about housing, get shown all this stuff. And like the fact that they got told so much, but they can't share it, makes me excited for retail and the communication they've been having with the content creators, with the audience. You can see with all the other content and retail's had, how much they talk, how much they share. They're so excited about the future that it makes me excited about retail's future as a classic creator, as a classic fan.
Show you. This whole purpose was that PAX was going on in Boston. They were having the WoW 30th anniversary event, and they just asked, can some of you hang out for an extra day in order to come and check this? You just happen to be in town, so please come and check out this thing. That was the whole purpose of it. It was off the books in terms of like being a big media event. It was nothing to do with that. And it was dedicated to genuine proper feedback. In fact, only a couple of the people who went to this thing are pure dedicated WoW players. What they did do though was invite a bunch of people who have dealt with housing in other games. They had some very Final Fantasy 14 focused people. Everybody was there for a specific reason. If you don't know, because you only followed me for WoW stuff, I have held the largest Final Fantasy 14 housing events in the game over the last couple of years, so that's why I was there, to talk about the kind of events and things we can do. Everybody else had their own purpose. And we sat down and we talked with individual devs, the whole team who's working out of their Boston office, who's been working on housing. We had like a UI dedicated person there who wanted negative feedback. They were very open of like, we get the praise. We want to hear where the problems are, where we can improve it, what things you've dealt with in other games, all that kind of thing. This is the focus. WoW is going very classic here in terms of Blizzard. They have looked at everything, and they're not shy about it either. They have looked at Valheim, Stardew Valley, they've looked at Final Fantasy 14, they've looked at WildStar, they've looked at Path of Exile, they've looked at all these games, and they found what they like about it, and then they've made it better.
That's actually good to hear that they're going back to good old Blizzard. Blizzard back in the day used to be the #1 thieves when it came to, well, I guess it's not stealing if you're taking inspiration, but they used to look at other MMOs, other games, see what was doing well, and then just rip the whole thing straight off the bat. They would take everything they could see, the best parts of every game, and just make it their own version, right? They would make their own content, their own experience, based off of that. So the fact that we're going back to Blizzard stealing of every other game and MMO and RPG to make the best system gives me hope. Makes me believe it's gonna be really good, actually.
I'm just going to say it. They've made it better. And that's where Blizzard got its name from. They looked at what other games were doing. They like it. It's good. How do we take all that and then we make our own version, which is superior? And that is exactly what they've done. It's very classic 2004 to 2010 Blizzard, where they were so far ahead, they were just making their own stuff, and it didn't quite work out in some cases. So with that said, I'm just going to quick fire through some stuff for you to get your answers out there, all right? I'm doing this in a nice numbered list for you guys. Number 1, these houses are like the TARDIS. For non-Doctor Who fans, that means that the outside of the house, which is something you can decorate, does not equate to what is inside of the house. If you want a one-room entryway with a sprawling vast church on the 2nd floor, and then you want your 3rd floor to turn into a 5-story tower jumping puzzle, you can do that. You can do whatever the hell you want with the shit.
What? The physics of that. I mean, I guess it's not meant to be super realistic. So you can have a regular house. You can have the tallest. You can have like a goddamn raid inside your house if you want. That's good. Yeah, that sounds fun. That sounds interesting. Hopefully it's not like garrisons, but we'll see more about that in a bit.
The rooms, it doesn't matter. You want to build a giant room? Go ahead and do that. They come in like these preset things, and you can just attach them to the side. Just have a button say, add another room. What do you want this to be? Do you want this to be a clock tower? Do you want it to be a double high, massive empty box? Do you want it to be a giant, wide open octagon space? Go ahead. Just clap it on. It doesn't matter what's beneath it in any way so far. The limitation is really, are the rooms accessible? You can't just make a floating room off in the middle of nowhere that no one can get to. That you can't do. But do you want to make a giant mega jumping puzzle? Sure. Do you want to make a giant maze? Sure. Do you want to make hidden rooms with secret doorways and passages? Yep, you could totally do that. The whole focus is freedom. Number 2. Do you want random blocks and things just floating in midair? Do you want a 200% scaled candlestick that shoots through the ceiling and looks like it's stabbing you in the face? Yep, go ahead and do that. While we were talking to Jay Huang, who's been...
That actually sounds really cool. The fact that you've given so much customization is actually insane. Like, I knew they said it was going to be very customizable. I know everybody has been like clamoring how it's the best housing ever in MMO. But hearing Preach describe it, it's actually insane the amount of energy, time, and effort they're putting into making housing in World of Warcraft a good experience. I know it's not even the capstone feature of Midnight WoW. Like, Midnight WoW is the next expansion. This is a bonus. It's an extra. It's not the actual endgame of World of Warcraft. This is the bonus. So they're putting all this time and energy into Midnight WoW, into just the housing, which comes out, I think, a pre-patch or the last patch of The War Within. And then look, you heard him. Ginormous candle, ginormous table, small. You can do what you want. That's absolutely insane to me. That also tells me the ERP is going to be insane. Don't go to, was it Goldshire on, what server was it? It starts with M. Moonglade? Holy fuck, I haven't played retail in such a long time, but still. Off the charts. I might move into one of those neighborhoods.
The art and prop guy for Blizzard for like over 15 years. He was literally doing demonstrations for us, and he was like, I designed that table in like Mists of Pandaria that's here now. He was saying that they did a ton of research. In particular, Valheim came up again, and they have a gravity system, and it became very apparent. Is like, why are we bothering with gravity? Let's just not do that. It's not fun. Players always find ways and means of trying to glitch things to get them in the right place, so let's just do away with that and have them put things wherever they want. If the player just wants random stuff because they're creating a magical Karazhan-themed place, let them do it. It's fine. It doesn't matter whatsoever. Just let them go and do it. If you want to just... the limitation on this, you want to push things through a wall? Go ahead. It's not a problem. Do you want to bury this? Do you want this to just be enormous and an inconvenience for you? Yeah, go ahead and do that. You can literally just put stuff in free-floating space wherever the hell you feel like it.
Makes me excited for retail. Like, I'm a classic fan, a classic player. I've said this a few times. The fact that the devs are actually doing all this, that's insane. They're truly and absolutely going out of their way to make an interesting, unique experience for the player base. Like, they saw all these features that other MMOs had, like gravity, and RPGs, in survival crafting games, like gravity, and they're like, this isn't fun. This isn't WoW. Let them have fun. Let them have the cake and eat it too. If this does really well in retail, we might get this shit in Classic Plus as well. So I'm actually super excited for it. Like, I already bought the War Within Collector's Edition right there. Might as well put the Midnight Collector's Edition right next to it so I can get the Classic Plus variant as well.
Number 3, creativity is everything, okay? All the new items that are coming into WoW are designed with housing in mind, especially the dyeable ones, okay? Because if you haven't seen already...
Look at that. Dyeable assets.
You can dye and change the color of some of the items. Not all, it's the new ones. And that is going to be the focus going forward, which we had confirmed with new assets coming into WoW. So they've got 2 problems they're dealing with. One, a lot of the old items literally don't have like a bottom or a side on some of them because they were never going to be seen by the player, so why would you bother putting a bottom into it, right? So some tankards and carpets and things like that just don't have an underneath. They were never going to be seen. So they are retroactively going back and adding stuff to that over time, and they pointed out that we get basically a push every other day of brand new items that are being added to the library that have been fixed by the art team. New items, though, are all being designed with this in mind. That means that
they've literally added such a brand new system. They've added a huge brand new system to give people more things to collect, grind for, have fun for. This is going to be an end game for a huge portion of the player base who doesn't give a shit about raiding or PvP. This is going to be an experience in the game that is going to be some people's only game mode they play. Just housing and roleplay and just community. Like, congratulations, Blizzard. I was excited for housing beforehand. I'm hyped for housing now. This is insanity.
Layer every time there's a big patch coming for World of Warcraft forevermore. This isn't going away. That means that if the next patch, based on the cutscene, and I'm not spoiling anything here, the cutscene is ethereal themed, you're going to get not only a new zone, awesome, new raid, awesome, but you're also going to get a bunch of new housing stuff because the assets for the new zone or whatever, if you think about how dense the Undermine is, are going to be joining the housing system as well, right? So you're going to get that new layer forevermore, as long as, you know, if this works, which it should, there's just going to add, oh, cool, we're getting a new Murloc-themed or Troll-themed place. That also means we're getting a whole bunch of new housing things to come along with it, right? So that then means the next issue. Number 4. How many items can you have? For those of you who've definitely played...
So a lot of MMOs have caps to housing items, right? They have a huge cap of how many items you can have in your house, how much content you can have in there. They'll have like a room cap, so you can have 200 items in a room, 150 in the smaller closet room. My thing with that is it's always been like some places have like restrictions of how you can place things. There's no restriction to what you can place. I wonder if they're going to do an item restriction, because if they do an item restriction, it'll kind of be like, okay, like it's not a big deal, it's not a deal breaker. If they do no item restriction, people are going to build some of the most obscene, extravagant, wild things, and I'm all for it.
In Final Fantasy XIV, you will have probably come up against the item cap in a house very regularly. You can have a very limited amount of items, which means if you make a very dense room that's full of micro details and really tiny little things to give it that really nice depth and wonderful flavor you want to go for, the likelihood is you'll hit the item cap and you'll have to block off the rest of the house because that will have to be empty. You literally cannot put more items into the house. That is not going to be a thing from what we can see in World of Warcraft at all. The item cap we got in the build we played with, which is not like the release candidate or anything, was 10,000 items. The most...
I ain't gonna lie, Blizzard's cooking. They're absolutely cooking with this shit. 10,000 items. Do you know how hard that is to put 10,000 items into a location? I had one of those Star Wars The Old Republic apartments, those huge apartments. I also had the Drummond Cast apartment in one of the big mansions. I think it might have been the Tatooine mansion. I literally couldn't fill out all the spots in that place. They were so massive, it was insane. 10,000 items is obscene. You know, the grinding and the open world farming to go unlock this ship is going to be next level.
Most dense buildings and rooms and houses they have created.
Is this the player house? Is this in the neighborhood? Or is this one of the new models from The War Within?
Internally, which involves... if all...
Holy shit, we get a small estate? Look at that.
And houses they have created...
This is the player house you get? You get an outside farm area, you can put decorations on the house, a water fountain.
Internally, which involves...
And look at that house in the background. That looks like a night elf house. The house where... Wait, shit. Let me move my camera real quick so you guys can see what I'm talking about. That looks like a night elf house right there in the background. It's different. It's got slight difference to the human housing right here. So does that mean you not only get human housing, you get night elf housing? So is the neighborhood going to have 2 or 3 variants to what your house can look like? Does that mean you're going to have in Orgrimmar, you're gonna have the orc housing with maybe blood elf housing right next to it, and troll housing and tauren housing. Damn.
If all the marketing you've seen for housing is one house that Jay built, it's one house. All the shots you've seen of different themes, restaurants, all that kind of stuff is just one house. They have not gone past 2,000 items. You can be immense. Absolutely immense. This should not really be a thing. Now, having said that, there is a caveat to it. Everything we were able to build in our build meant that one item took up one slot of the 10,000, right? That's not probably going to be the case in the live version because not everything is made equal. If you want to put a 200-foot rotating giant windmill in your building, which you...
The fact that you can put a giant rotating windmill is insane. I have a question. Is this going to be like Warlords of Draenor, where the humans had the nice walls and the castle and these cool buildings, and orcs had, like the Horde had spiky huts no matter what? Like, I'm going to be real. I'm a Horde player. I'm a troll player. If I go into player housing and I look at my alliance friends, and my alliance friends are all like, oh my god, your night elf little temple is so cute, and your little human temple is so cute, oh, your Draenei little ship, amazing. And I walk into my orc neighborhood, and my orc neighborhood's quite literally Zug and his goddamn mud hut with his mud pit with pigs inside of it. And I look to my left, and you got Bovine, the grass seer, and he's literally in a TP tent, smoking the ganja outside, saying, may the spirits be with you, brother. And then I look over there, and there's a troll, and his house is being destroyed by some elves because, you know, he's a troll, he doesn't get freedom. And he's just sitting in his ruined-ass temple, run-down piece of shit, and I'm just looking at my neighborhood like, man, no wonder this was so cheap. The humans over here with the HOA, and I got some troll fixing and I got some goblin fixing a broken car in his front lawn. Like, I just hope the Horde neighborhood has some quality control checks compared to the Alliance neighborhood. That's all I'm saying.
You can do.
Can you imagine the Blood Elf just looking around like, can we move? I don't feel safe here. Why is that goblin rebuilding a destroyed fucking car? Why is that troll looking at me like that? You just got an orc in a tank top, a stained dirty tank top, sitting in a fucking lawn chair, going, oi, Jim Bob, mate. How you doing, man? Like, dude.
Right now, we did that. That will maybe take 5 slots, right? Whereas an undermined goblin pointing arrow that you attach to a wall will be 1. So they will vary that a little bit, but generally speaking, items will not be a limitation in doing this. Number 5, how hard is it to use? It is stupidly easy to use. Like, to the point where the easy mode we didn't use because we defaulted to the advanced mode more than anything because we were rubbish with using the easy mode, which they came around and were like, everything you're trying to do right now in advanced mode, you could do very easily in the easy mode because you have snap mode where it will just like clip to things, and if you say put segments of a floor together to make a fountain area, it will go, oh, you're making a circle, we'll just clip it together, or you can detach it or whatever, so you can move the whole thing if you put several things together. You then have freeform mode, so you can just rotate it using the mouse wheel or whatever. You can do whatever you want to do. And then you have the advanced mode where you can change the shape, size of it, and individual rotations and spin it and do all kinds of things. You can actually do that with the easy mode. It's just that we were rubbish with that, and we just defaulted to the advanced mode, which was still really easy to use. That is totally fine. It's very...
I do like that they made difficulty modes. The advanced will let you do way more, and the easy being as easy as possible. Snip, clack, it's done. And just in advance being like, let me combine 75 items together to create the most rubbish house you've ever seen. But it's my rubbish because I designed and created it.
Very, very simple to use. They've done a great job here. I was actually really surprised. There are some limitations based on the feedback we gave, which is going to be added to the game. Like, I want to make sure you understand that everything I'm talking to you about now has been directly fed back to them, and they're fully aware of it. So, such things as a quick bar. If you're building, like, Draknos built this very intense maze to get lost in, you're probably going to be using one piece of wall many, many times. So, a hotbar to put that on so I could just click that hotbar and keep going, because you can keybind everything that you're doing here, which is great. I rebound all my keys to housing very quickly, and it worked out super well. is you probably want that on a hotbar and a favorites list. That's all coming into the game. One thing that is missing right now that they're working on is a history mode. I'll talk more about that later in the limitations. But generally speaking, cloning is more difficult. So if you make, let's say you make a very custom thing. So one example, I made this view through a window, which is a very common thing to do in housing, where I took a piece of wall, I then like scaled it to a certain way to get a piece of the wall, and then I buried that wall into the floor so that I could create this window outlet that was the right size for my character. All that kind of stuff took very specific measurements. I can't then clone that piece to say I want the window to be twice as wide. So I want to clone that and do it again. That's a limitation they're working on. And a history mode to go back through various changes that you made. They want to check into that. There's a technical issue that they're trying to resolve for that. But at the same time, it's not a mega inconvenience because all the information is given to you very easily. All the degrees are listed numerically, so you can just easily copy them, as well as the scaling numbers. So it's a minor inconvenience, nice to have for those kinds of things that you want to have. Number 6 then, performance. You're probably worried about performance, right? Fine. Like, actually really, really fine. You've got to think about it. This is actually not going... It's no different than a building in WoW without...
I'm gonna be real. The insane level of customization and creativity they've given to players is going to lead to some incredibly hilarious content. Machinima is gonna get next level. This may even result in next level machinima. Because building on private servers is kind of difficult. With the way you can place things and create locations and experiences and systems, this may lead to a resurgence in new era, new gen machinima. And I'm absolutely excited to see what else they end up cooking and planning here, because they've got all the concerns, all the curiosity factor they've had sated. And the fact that they're improving it still for launch, and this is the unready version, all that tells me is Blizzard's future with Midnight WoW, The Last Titan, and 14.0, and the WoW 2.0 that's coming after they finish the World Toll Saga, is going to be insane. Like, I was already going to play Midnight WoW. Now I'm going to play Midnight WoW. I'm still a Classic Plus channel, but I'm actually excited now. Also, Rambook, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the cult. I appreciate you, brother.
The rest of the outside world loaded either. There's a lot of things in there. I will say, I'm not going to mention any names. Some people did try to crash it by filling the 10,000 slots and didn't manage it. They've tried. They tried to lag it by making the most ridiculous things you could possibly imagine. Let's put it this way. If your game runs okay in the open world, you're going to be absolutely fine. And if you want to try, I have no doubt somebody will be able to lag this game out. Of course they will. Or create some sort of glitchy issue within this. But it's going to be an uphill battle that you're going to be trying to force to happen, right? That's going to be the thing that's going to happen there.
Somebody will crash the game. Just like you said. Somebody will find it as a challenge and there'll be a YouTube video on it with like 1 million views or 500,000 views going, I destroyed WoW's housing and it's insane, or something like that, right? Goldshire in Moonguard, city parties are going to be like they're not going to hold a candle compared to what is going to happen in these ERP neighborhoods. That's all I'm going to say. Now that I'm thinking about the amount of creativity, it's gonna be insane.
Okay, those are the general things outside of what you've seen in announcements. Obviously, I'm looking at this with you have some preface knowledge. So at the beginning of my day, within the first hour when the devs were hanging out with us, I was like, "You've opened this." The word of the thing I said was, "This is Pandora's box." And that then became like the word of the day. It's Pandora's box. There's already way more creativity and freedom than I expected from the first version of housing. And the problem you have now, which I think we all ran into, is you start having really grand ideas about things that you want that aren't there yet. Like ridiculous things. Because you have this whole massive template in front of you and you want to fulfill more insanity. You just want more and more things to do with it. Like, I want mega spotlights to create crazy shadows and things. And they're like, yep.
Preach. By adding spotlights, they're going to create strip clubs. They're going to have poles. They're going to have the Blood Elves dancing in front of the poles with the spotlight on the Blood Elves. The Draenei dancing in front of the poles. It's going to be devious. It's going to be diabolical. I'm going to be a premium member. It is what it is.
That's coming. We're totally working on that. And now I want, like, tailored music. Can I get music to, like, be in this zone of the room? And then the music shifts here so I can almost tell a story, because I can predict this, like, horror-themed place where I want somebody to see something in a corridor, and then the music shifts. And I'm like, yep, we're working on that. All those kind of things. But that's their issue they're going to run into, so I'm going to move into limitations and things now. Again, to reiterate, everything I'm about to tell you, we have already fed back to the devs, and they're aware of it, and they're looking at it, and be under no illusion. Everything I'm talking about right now is one of, like, infinite avenues that Blizzard...
Is this a Final Fantasy XIV prison? Where the Lalafell are imprisoning big people? Interesting. I can't wait to go to the orc ghetto and just have orcs be like people. Dude, the roleplay is going to be diabolical. The roleplay is going to be probably some of the worst, funniest, hilarious, most disgusting shit known to mankind. I'm going to be running my neighborhood as well. The strictest HOA known to mankind.
Now has to explore over the next 10 years. So, number one, import, export, all right? Let's face facts. Most of us, especially me, are not creative geniuses when it comes to housing. And actually just creating... I don't have the patience to do the minute detail. But there are those people out there, and this opens a whole new avenue for super users and truly amazing creative people to build wonderful, wonderful things. Now, here's the issue you run into, and this occurs if you're not aware of, or you've not played a game with housing before. This is actually a genuine thing. Is you're opening the possibility of account sharing, because you want those people to come and do your house. Hell, we do this not with account sharing. Is we commission people, and they build things in properties they have access to for us, be that for the Race to World First, if we're doing an FF14 Race to World First, or for our parties and themed parties that we want to do. We have commissioned artists who go out and create these properties for us, and they're phenomenal, right? These builders are absolutely phenomenal. Similar to what we have already in WoW with loadouts and talents and things, import-export is a massive deal for me. One, you want to curb any possibility of account sharing whatsoever. Or you want to be able to give moderation rights to another player to say, like, you are the server's... S-Fand actually had a really good point here. It's like, when in Classic, somebody gets the recipe for, say, Lionheart Helm, that's the Lionheart Helm guy. And you want to speak to that guy and get them involved. That is going to happen with housing with these very creative people, and gives a whole new lease on life for the game. Is you want them to either be able to come in and work on your property, right? Or you want creators, new, fresh YouTubers and streamers and things who build these magnificent things and are then able to upload it and share it, so that you're curbing that. And also people can have wonderful, glorious houses that they just not are creatively inclined or have the patience all the time to invest in and to share in what those guys create.
Yeah, he's not wrong. The people that can create these kind of content, like these kinds of like houses and like unique structures and like buildings, it's genuinely going to be absolutely insane. The kind of roleplay content, the kind of community it leads to. This is a whole new lease on life for retail. Now, retail WoW has been improving quite a lot in the recent years. This is literally just an extra thing that makes retail a better and better experience. Like, the people that are really creative are going to come into your house, like the HGTV channel. They're going to be like, okay, we're going to tear this wall down. We're going to add like accents here. We're going to expand this closet. We're going to do this. And you're just like, what's the budget? I'm a school teacher, so infinite gold. And she's a potato farmer, infinite gold. And the guy's going to be like, okay, yeah, I'll make whatever you want. I'll build a mansion for you guys. And that's what's going to happen. We're going to get some of the most iconic housing known to mankind.
So that would be a huge plus. If you've ever played Path of Exile, you'll know this is a huge thing. People create these wonderful and also, outlandish housing arts to do things with. 2, longevity. This is a big concern of mine. Dead neighborhoods are a very real thing, especially in FF14. Everybody wants a house. Everybody can get a house. And wow, it's far easier than ever to get a house. Everybody has access to one. And then the internals of the house are completely untouched. They have the house, they have their plots, and then they don't do anything with it. An enormous percentage of houses are just bare empty inside. Now, this is where the neighborhoods are going to come in, because you'll know how it feels, right? You will be very excited week 1 to come into it, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna leave it alone now, right? You don't want that to happen. So neighborhoods are something they weren't able to publicly, I'm dancing around it here, tell us much about. It's what I'll say. Because they're not ready to give detail on that. However, we were with the neighborhood lead, Toby, who was, I'll say this for the public viewing, nudge us in the direction that they're going with this. So they were very clear. We do not want housing to be something that's like bolted onto the game, and that's a separate feature of the game. So you have World of Warcraft, and then you have WoW housing. It's kind of got this distinct line between it. And that's where neighborhoods will come in. They're giving you like low 50s, so they weren't specific. It's like 50 to 55, depending. Housing slots, which should be more than large enough for a good active guild. Obviously, if you're in a crazy cesspool guild with like hundreds and hundreds of just nameless people in there, that's not quite big enough. Have multiple neighborhoods. But for, you know, the vast majority of active interactive guilds, that...
Can you kick someone out of your neighborhood? Because, like, imagine you're in a guild. Like, I'm going to use a roleplay guild as an example, right? You're in a roleplay guild. And then, you know, your e-girl cheats on you with another e-boy. And then you get mad in the GM and you kick them from your guild. Are they still in your neighborhood? Or, like, as a content creator, can I have Eben's neighborhood? And then somebody pisses me off. Can I kick them out of my neighborhood? Can I be like, you are banished. Be gone from Eben's neighborhood. You are banned. And, like, does that work? Like, how does the neighborhoods really work there? Because he's not wrong. Imagine I make a neighborhood and then, like, there's just people that, like, you know, don't watch me anymore. They stop playing the game. Like, they went back to classic. They don't care about retail. And is my neighborhood gonna have, like, just half the neighborhood just fully dead? It's gonna be interesting.
Will be fine. But they're going to be holding events there. Seasonal events and things like that will be happening. Outside construction will be going on. And hopefully the activity to create events will be a big deal in order to incentivize you actually going back there. So this isn't, say, Siren Isle. I go, I get my ring, and I just leave, and I never go back there again.
Yeah, you know what? Medina has to get evicted once every week. Just by virtue of Medina being, like, we're gonna have to make, I don't know if I should even say this, it's kind of funny, but very slightly fucked up. Medina has to dodge, you know, the horde version of ICE, patrolling the neighborhood. So Medina's gonna have to fight for his life every week.
Unless I want some pets or something like that. That's not what they're going for here, because that is a real issue in other games where housing is a separate game. 14 would be an example of that. And if you're not into it, you just never see it again. I have a house because I got the achievement. You have a house, right? Number 3. So return. Number 3 then would be return visits. Coming back to this. If you go and try and do what you can, they're going to have a progression system, right? So let's say week 1... This is another big concern of mine that I made them aware of, and they're working to make sure this doesn't happen, is that they will have some sort of progression system, right? I got to play, as the rest of us did, with basically a fully unlocked housing system. However, if this system comes in, and week 1 I am that super hype guy, and I've got all these ideas, I go to my house, and I obviously, depending on what your past history with the game is, it's going to unlock a bunch of stuff for you immediately. If you've got achievements and things, it'll go, oh, you already did this. So it's just unlocked for you. But you will have limitations. So you want to build this crazy jumping puzzle that's going to be like 6 stories high. It's going to have a connecting bridge across the middle that connects to something else. And you've got this huge idea. However, you go week 1 and you're kind of limited to floor 2 and maybe like 4 rooms. And you're like, oh, okay. And it's not until you get to like progression track 5 to get more things. But by the time you hit that...
Do we have a housing battle pass? Progression track 5? Am I going to have to log on and do my housing dailies? Place 5 bookshelves. Evict 5 blood owls from your house. Find the gnome underneath your floorboards. Banish Medina from the neighborhood. Like, what are these progression tracks? I'm really curious. And yo, Mike Vix, thank you for following. Welcome to the cult. I appreciate you. But I am truly curious what it ends up looking like for like the overall experience of the progression track. Does the progression track award you cosmetics? So you get your full house from the get-go, then you unlock new cosmetics for doing the progression track? And what are these housing quests? If one of them's like invite 10 people over and you have no friends, what do you just stand there crying? Please visit my house. I'm trying to progress my progression track and I have no friends. I'm curious.
You kind of lost interest. That excitement has dwindled away, and you just can't be bothered, right? It's kind of just fallen into, oh, okay, well, I've unlocked it. I'll go and check that weekend, maybe, or anything like that. That is a real problem that I don't want them to run into. People should be able to do some pretty amazing things day one. I think that's a vital part of this. They're aware of it. They're going to do stuff to incentivize you there. I want to be clear on this, though. If you don't want to engage with housing, they were very clear on this, then you don't have to, right? They want to incentivize you going back and investigating your neighborhoods and going seeing it so it's not unfamiliar, it's not a forgotten part of the game. This is evergreen. This is something that's going to be here forevermore. But if you were like, I hate housing, sure, that's fine. That's your prerogative. Then you won't have to deal with it in any way, so they're not going to tie it to anything. Number 4. Utility. Oh my god. There were a couple of, I'm not mentioning names, but a couple of young creators there who were not there during the Garrison days. I was really lucky in the, I don't know if they're releasing any of the pictures because they took a lot of us during these round. We literally had big bunch of chairs in a circle where we were all shooting back.
I will say real quick before he goes on about that is that when it comes down to it, the housing should be something that's beneficial to the game but completely avoidable. I know a lot of people just do not give a singular shit about housing or cosmetics. I know people that run around and clown transmog and they don't even do any transmog in game. They literally play the game to play the game for PvP and PvE, like endgame raiding, Mythic Plus. So for those people, fair enough. They shouldn't have to do it. But they should really make people want to do it, want to interact with it, want to explore and enjoy all that content, because I feel like that's going to add so much flavor to World of Warcraft, to retail in general, where people want to do housing. They want to participate in it. Add PvP quests so people can invade your house. You got to play tag. Run away from them in your house because you know your own house. So you know how to play around with it and make your maze, right? There's so many cool little gimmicky things they could do that could make player housing really, really fun.
Back and forth. I was sat next to Paul Cubitt. That name might not mean anything to you, but it should. Paul's been there forever. I interviewed him back when I went to visit the campus. This guy is a creative genius, responsible for a lot of cool things in World of Warcraft. And some of the younger creators who were there were like, what about utility? What can we have, like an auction house? Come here. And I was like, oh no. It's happening again.
Garrisons, yeah.
No. I turned to Paul and I went, the sins of the father. And he looked at me and he went, and it was nice to see the devs were like, look, we're not saying no, and I will give massive shouts here to Zeppler, big FF14 creator, who was very clear on a good suggestion that the devs were like, that's a really good idea. So the idea of mining and herbing came up, because wouldn't it make sense that the neighborhood has like a garden that can get the herbs and things like that? And I was like, oh no, oh no, oh no. It's happening all over again.
The Garrison mines.
But then we had good suggestions like, well, what if there is gardens and things, but the things you're growing there are actually to unlock housing things?
That
cool. Makes total sense. That is totally fine, because what we can do here is...
yeah, if they had the mining and the herbing, but you use it to purchase housing stuff, you use it to purchase cosmetics, so you go and mine a bunch of like steel or wood, and you do like lumbering and mining and gardening, and then you turn those rewards, those currencies, into the neighborhood. Say they'll add like a neighborhood little the community center. You go to the community center and use it to purchase cosmetics for your house, and I feel like that would be sick.
Add in profession items, where there are specialists who can build very specific items, and that uses like the neighborhood system and all that kind of stuff to create those things, which other people might not engage with, and then be able to commission, you know, things to go in the auction house and things like that in the cities. They didn't say no to everything. Like, it does make sense that there's some sort of mailbox or something like that available in the neighborhoods. That
I kind of wonder if there's a way to add like a local auction house so you guys can sell stuff to each other without people logging in. So you have like a guild-only auction house. Now that's kind of stupid, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's a good idea. I'm just saying they could add like these features and stuff where you want to use the real auction house at the city, but there's a reason to have little things inside your community, inside the people you play with and grind with and enjoy the world with. So that's not all just immediately lost to like, you know, up time to leave the neighborhood or everything is in the neighborhood. Like we don't want a garrison situation because the garrisons had everything. The garrisons were insane. So maybe by doing this player housing thing, they can add things like you can do guild stuff. Like you can like imagine the community center is the guild house. So the big guild house, the big guild center at the beginning, and every guild member has their own little house there. That could be sick as all hell.
Fits, but they're very wary of adding utility in any form to this that actually is like progression utility to the outside game. Because if you weren't there during WoD and you're not sure why my heart skips a beat whenever this comes up, garrisons had utility and function in them. They had a mine, they had a herb garden. It meant there was no reason to go out into the world at all because you could daily collect everything you would ever need for your flasks, potions, your self-fulfilling prophecy. And when you had alts, you could cover every profession in the game without ever leaving your base. And it was instant stuff. It just killed the world. Like, you don't want that.
Garrisons were absolutely terrible.
Next one is acceptance of this. This is going to be an interesting journey for WoW players. Roleplay in particular. Again, this is why Pandora's box kept coming up. Roleplay has been looked down upon by a lot of WoW players, despite the fact that roleplay servers are a huge thing. And roleplay has existed forever in World of Warcraft, right? And I know from my experience where housing is already a thing, is this opens the doors to infinite possibilities of what's going to be happening within the game that they're...
Look at this. This isn't even a strip club. This is just like a club. People are just dancing in clubs, the bikini outfits and all this stuff. I'm telling you, there's going to be communities and guilds where the neighborhood has a strip club. It's got the bars. It's got the stores. It's got all the roleplay. Like, there are going to be role players that build whole neighborhoods for their roleplay guild that is going to be next level. It's going to be absolutely insane. It's going to be chock full of so much content that is genuinely and absolutely going to be an amazing experience. Like, I am going to be creating the Ebon, like, I'm going to create Ebon's dystopia where it's miserable, sad, abjectly terrible. I want people sitting outside as addicts and crackheads. I want everybody to just be role-playing the worst possible experience known to mankind. And I want to walk up to people being like, where's the rent? Like, it's terrible. But like, that's a joke in game. But the things you could do, it's going to be insane.
Need to be aware of. Some of it was a bit extreme that they were like, really? I'm like, yeah, like traveling casinos, right? Gambling is a big no-no in World of Warcraft, but you're going to have traveling casinos because players figured out a long, long time ago how to have active gambling within the game, especially with trustworthy organizations, which are now going to be a thing in World of Warcraft. You're going to know the proper Gallywix Casino Discord. And these guys will turn up and they will provide bars and they will provide various different gambling games that can be played without any of the utility of the game itself between players. They can play blackjack together and all this kind of stuff with /roll. And
holy shit, we need to add, in our neighborhood, we need to add an actual casino. And we need to do like the death rolls, the above 500, below 500, like all the different gambling games, like blackjack and all that stuff. Gambling is going to be legit.
All these kind of things have been done before. You're going to have that. You're going to have strip clubs, right? You think Goldshire is bad, and some people go, strip clubs. Like, dude, this is already in the game in a long way. Check out Drama Time on a Friday. This already exists in a huge way, and now you're going to have organized ones, like genuinely organized ones with proper parties and things going on. That is absolutely going to happen. But on the less degenerate side, you're going to have things like the DJ population, which you guys probably don't even know about. There is a huge amount of live venue DJs that are extraordinary, right? I think of names like Miu Fei, DJ Cyborg, all these people who have regularly DJ'd parties in FF and spin off like remixes of the soundtracks and things like that to the game in a wonderful, wonderful way and help host parties. These are now going to be an active thing in World of Warcraft because they'll have venues to go to and people will be able to attend. This is something I'm super excited for because I was skeptical, like many of you are, as to how this actually plays out because you always think it's cringe and people just ERPing all over the place. But
that's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of that. But roleplay is more than ERP. ERP is pretty big. But roleplay is bigger than ERP. ERP is a small subset of the role-playing crowd. So, yeah, I know people make fun of it and crack jokes and yada, yada, yada. Oh my god, ERP and gooning this and gooning that. And yes, there will be whole neighborhoods dedicated to ERP. But there's going to be a huge amount of neighborhoods dedicated to, like you said, gambling, fun roleplay, clubs, you know, DJing. There's going to be an insane amount of content that is going to be absolutely incredibly fun that's besides ERP. Now, don't get me wrong. You walk into the wrong neighborhood and you're going to walk into a Draenei, Futa, doing things that will scar you. So be careful what neighborhood you walk into, but not counting that, it's going to be actually top tier stuff.
like that's
I will also be in that neighborhood as well.
It's not the case at all, and I know you don't believe me, but when you visit these things, and I encourage you to do, you'll be like, oh, that's not what this is. This is actually something really different, and a lot of people having fun, and more importantly, player-made events. This is the evergreen content that you want in your MMO, because this opens the door for the social elements that World of Warcraft specifically has lacked for a really long time, with phasing and innocuous names and people being changed from their name to rogue or mage or whatever. The resistance is going to be there for this, but ultimately, if it's handled well and it's encouraged and Blizzard supports these kinds of events and publicizes major ones, then this is going to be an immense addition to the game. There's so much more that I want to talk about with you guys, but I want to keep it as short as possible. So we'll have the full interview over on our second channel, like I mentioned earlier. But the idea of IP crossover for different themes, right? Can we get StarCraft themed stuff? What if I kill Lilith on hardcore in D4? Can I then have a Lilith trophy? I will say, like NPCs working in the houses, right? This is a big thing that I can play dress up with. People love doing that kind of stuff. My warband alts hanging out. They already have shown your pets and stuff will be available.
Okay, like I know we made jokes about gooning before, but if they make it so you can dress up NPCs and just spawn in a bunch of blood elves and Draenei and all that stuff, pets, there are literally succubi pets. You can have there's literally pets in game that are just actual people, just mini-sized people and like NPCs. It's gonna be wild. It's going to be insane.
All these kind of things, and the message is clear.
And your post, how you doing?
If this is version 1 that I got to test of the housing, they've way exceeded expectations by a long, long way. It was really nice that they stopped a lot of the feedback to say, this is great, all the positive, we want the negative. Where are you running into issues? And we gave a lot, especially on like UI interactions, search criteria, all this kind of stuff. We really looked at everything. Basically, if you can think of it, they've thought about it and are working on it, but they're working on Pandora's box. Every single person who plays with housing is going to want something else. And that's going to be coming. It's going to take time. This is years and years of work. But for a starting point, how they kept this a secret for as I now know how long they've been working on this. How in the hell they kept this secret, I don't know. But it's pretty exciting.
Blizzard's always been really good at keeping secrets. The issue is, for a long time, people wanted to find the secrets. And then we had like BFA and Shadowlands. People stopped caring about the secrets. And now people care about the secrets again. So of course, like, it's wild that player housing was kept a secret for so long. I'm gonna be real. I'm actually excited for housing, but let's finish the video real quick.
It's really cool. So there you go. Any other questions, you can find me on Twitch, and I'll answer whatever I can, because by the time you see this, the embargo's lifted. Hey! Alright, bye guys.
Preach is an absolute legend, one of the OGs of content creation. This was a really good video. I'll have a link down in the description down below. If you haven't watched it yet, I would recommend going checking Preach out. If you're watching my WoW videos, you know who Preach is. Let's be real here. But it's a genuinely really cool feature that player housing is adding to World of Warcraft. Like, they're genuinely going above and beyond and creating a content cycle. They're creating things to do that are actually interesting, that are actually fun, that expand the game and add so much content that gives people things to do, things to play, and just a world and a content cycle to enjoy. A lot of people may not like it. It may not be for them. You may not even like retail. But saying that it's bad is abjectly false. This is actually a really cool feature for a lot of people. And it very likely will contribute to retail's continued growing success and continued growing interest from a lot of people that quit before in the past, or people that are returning to the game right now and are just actually excited for the future of World of Warcraft. Like, Classic Plus may get housing now because retail's housing is really interesting and really exciting. And when retail succeeds, it benefits other versions of other games inside of World of Warcraft and the Blizzard IPs in general. So yeah, I'm excited for Retail WoW, for Midnight WoW, because this is going to drop, I think, pre-patch for Midnight, or like the last patch of the War Within. I'm actually going to check it out. I'm going to see how it does. I'm going to see what it is. And just based on what Preach said, this is potentially going to be some of the most exciting things they've ever really done. So thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe. If you hated it, understand it was a reaction. Dislike and subscribe and hate my next reaction too. Thank you for watching. Ebonhard out. Peace.